Don't you dare say something bad about my spell! Kobold, I saw the script!
Throw it in the trash can. Now! Now say something good about the spell.
It's good at focus fire and it kills people.
Good. Bold. Now.
Kobold and Gator Dice! They can be used with Scorching Ray! And because there's two of us, you'll have advantage on your attacks. You got pack tactics. Just like a death roll, they'll go bah and do 1 billion damage! And your enemy's gonna run around screaming on fire! Noob! Murder's not the only thing they're good for. They're specifically optimized to give you the best outcomes in your campaign, be it success or failure. And these dice are compatible with different game systems as well. Yeah, we thought about absolutely everything. And the Kickstarter goes live very soon, November 1st. We're very excited. Link in the description if you're interested in following it. It helps us quite a lot. End the video. Follow the Kobold and Gator Dice. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Woo. I think he's gone. Welcome to Pack Tactics, where I'm just in the mood to talk about Scorching Ray. We gotta do some math. Let's read the spell first. Scorching Ray, 2nd level spell, action, 120 foot range. You hurl 3 fiery rays. You can hurl them at one target within range or at several. Make a ranged spell attack for each ray. On a hit, the target takes 2d6 fire damage. Upcast, you create 1 additional ray for each spell slot above 2. For this video just in general, and this is close to enemy AC baseline. If you start with 16 intelligence and continuously raise your intelligence every ASI, then I'm going to assume you have a 65% chance to hit with Scorching Ray. A single ray does 4.9 average damage. With 3 of them together, that's 14.7 average damage. This is accounting for crits, by the way, which is 5%. Here's what got Gator really mad, like, instantly. The base damage, which is 2d6, is lower than Burning Hands. Burning Hands is a terrible spell. If you hit 2 targets with Burning Hands at 1st level, the average damage is 16.8. That's 2 points above Scorching Ray. People already know that Scorching Ray sucks at spread damage, but I don't think people realize that it's this bad. 1st level Burning Hands is better at spread damage. The reason the damage is so surprisingly high for Burning Hands is because half damage on a successful save is super duper strong mathematically. I made a video about it 2 years ago. Link in the description. It will blow your mind if you don't know about it. So yeah, the conclusion there is never ever do spread damage unless it comes naturally where the target you're gunning down dies early. If that does happen, you have to spread. Also, when you spread like that, you might not have a damage rider attached to the second creature like Hex for example. Yeah, by the way, this spell makes ranged spell attacks, so you can combo it with Hex, Spirit Shroud, 2024 Conjure Minor Elementals, and what have you. Those 3 are the popular ones. And if you're utilizing those in the spread, which is very likely to happen, the average damage from the Scorching Ray is pretty bad from what we just saw. We could have cast any regular AoE damage spell, which would have done a better job. But of course, it's hard to tell when an enemy is about to die early or not. And this isn't fully negative. The enemy you wanted to gun down quickly is dead after all, which is what we wanted. This is a problem for min-maxing really. This spell is for focus fire. Everybody who uses this spell does this. That's good. I don't need to talk about spread anymore. Let's talk about focus fire. We found out that the average damage is 14.7 with 3 rays. Let's compare to another classic spell I really like that sort of does something similar. It's Magic Missile. This is the part where Gator told me to scrap the video. I'm gonna assume everyone knows how Magic Missile works. It's like the most iconic spell in the game. But it's important to mention that this is not a ranged spell attack, so Hex and stuff doesn't work with the spell. That gives Scorching Ray an edge in spell comboing. I'll talk about that a little bit later. If you cast Magic Missile at 2nd level, you shoot 4 darts. The average damage is 14. It's really easy to calculate. Scorching Ray at 2nd level is ahead by 0.7 damage here. The Ray is winning here, but it's not even by 1. Force damage is the best damage type in the game, whereas Fire is way more resisted and immune. It's like average. But don't get me wrong, Fire is still good. I don't want to spook you away from damage types. I do want you to use Fireball and stuff. But anyways, every single dart from Magic Missile is an auto hit, whereas Scorching Ray there's a 65% chance, usually. Sure, Magic Missile can't crit, and it gets countered by Shield, but the average damage for crit is so insanely low, and Shield also gets countered by Scorching Ray too, so this isn't much of an advantage. Scorching Ray sucks on its own. It's extremely overrated to a ridiculous degree. I'll use Magic Missile. Scorching Ray does have a better upcast with 4.9 average damage increases compared to Magic Missile with 3.5. That's 1.4 more. But none of this is impressive. Both spells are bad at upcasting. Magic Missile is okay on its own. Scorching Ray is not. Which brings me to the Riders. Both of these spells need some sort of Rider feature or Rider spell to make them better and scale better. I've made a Magic Missile video where I basically go over absolutely everything. It's not complicated there. It's really easy. For Scorching Ray, it's the opposite because there's tons of Rider spells to combo with, like Hex, Spirit Shroud, and Conjure Minor Elementals and all of that. I'm only really scratching the surface here. There's also Draconic Sorcerer and what have you. Feat, Elven Accuracy, and what's the other one called? The one I've never mentioned on video. Oh my god. It's Elemental Adept. That's what it was called. Elemental Adept. It's a terrible feat for like 3 spells at best. And now it's even worse because it's gated behind the level 4 prerequisite. And every class is basically feat starved. This is where we can take forever with spreadsheets and especially round setup, which is really the bane of Scorching Ray. I've talked about round setups being a problem for years. The quick and simplified explanation is that you can't get your single target Nova off immediately on the first round unless you precast the Rider spell. You can only cast 1 spell slot per turn. This isn't a problem with the Rider features, it's just the spells. Nova is best served immediately rather than later because enemies do things to you, and we hate when they do that. They can potentially ruin everything. On the first round, enemies can focus fire you and force you to make a ton of concentration checks in the round setup. There's a chance you might lose that concentration for the Rider spell, which will make everything worse. You lost a spell slot that was wasted, and you need to reset the setup. If we account for damage lost in those 2 rounds of setup, the Nova becomes terrible even when you blow your biggest spell slot on Scorching Ray. It would have been so much better if you cast something that was a hugely debilitating effect or massive damage immediately instead. You're faffing about too much with the setups in the fight. A fight usually lasts 4 rounds, and the first 2 rounds are the most important ones. If you spend 2 rounds on just setup, something went terribly wrong here. Now, if the fight isn't hard or this isn't a dungeon crawl or something, then this isn't a big deal really. But it is when resources truly matter, which is very important to know. That has to do with survival. That's why optimizers like tabletop builds don't like Scorching Ray. It's too much hassle for setups. We want a big debilitating effect or massive damage to go off immediately. In the damage department, we have a catchphrase for this. Damage now is better than damage later. I'm only really scratching the surface here. Just like Scorching Ray, the damage Rider spells themselves like Hex, Spirit Shroud, and Conjure Minor Elementals aren't good on their own either. I've made a video about all of them. When you combine 2 spells that aren't good on their own together as a combo, they don't both turn into amazing spells or an amazing combo suddenly. They're just okay. In order to make a spell that isn't good on its own actually amazing is if you combine it with something that is actually amazing on its own. Like for example, the 10th level feature from the Evocation Wizard, where when you cast an Evocation spell, you add your intelligence mods to 1 damage roll of that spell. That feature is amazing with any Evocation spell because it adds so much damage like AoE damage spells, with no setup, and especially Magic Missile if you go by rules as intended with rolling 1 die and multiplying it. That spell that isn't good on its own finally becomes amazing because of an amazing feature. I think you understand where I'm coming from, but like, hey, if I see you cast Conjure Minor Elementals plus Scorching Ray as a fellow player or I'm DMing for you, I'm usually not going to care. You can do whatever you want. The game is usually really easy, you know? The big positive is you're making somebody die quicker than normal, and that can reduce damage taken. That's a win. There's also the fact that combos like these don't require much communication between the party, which can speed up real-life time, or at least it can. It depends on the fight, really. So if you really enjoy this spell and setting up damage riders, then go for it. It's a classic min-max combo and highly valued at a lot of tables, and especially Reddit. The goal of this video is to show a different optimized perspective, which is interesting. You might not agree with me or tabletop builds, but that's fine. The hobby is really boring if everyone agrees with each other. I hope you understand where I'm coming from and what I'm saying, and I hope you had fun watching. That's the important part. Anyways, end the video. Have a nice weekend, everyone. And remember to check out the Cobalt and Gator Dice on our Kickstarter. We really need followers. We go live November 1st. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.